We are back, everyone. This episode is going to be called Unmuted Zappy. It might get retitled later. Maybe it won't. I kind of like the title. Mr. Zappy is behind that camera. He's back now. I am Richie, your host, and we have Brett coming back for a little bit more. We're running out of a little time on Start Bench Cut, and Zappy wasn't aware that he muted his mic for the first 15 seconds of that last minute, so I didn't want to not be fair to him to make some more good points. Plus, it gives us a chance to keep talking, and I always love that, as I'm off tomorrow. So, biggest head case, AB, TO, OBJ. Bretsky, can you recap your points before we pass it back to Mike about how you viewed these three super talented guys, but guys that brought a little drama here and there?
Is Brett muted now?
No, I'm just messing with you.
That was pretty good.
That was really good.
Good, bro.
Got
That
it.
was really good.
That was
Got
really
ya.
good.
Yeah. No, I'm gonna go. I'm sticking with my same as before. I'm going AB.
Sticking with it.
Yeah, I'm sticking with it. I'm not gonna change my mind. I honestly have never really liked the guy. Yeah, he was a top 3 receiver in the league for more than a few years, but I just the way that he ended it, the way that he left the game, I don't really agree with how he did it. OBJ is my bench guy, simply because of his whole, boat, crusade, and when he, when he decided to, kick the, kick the soccer net on the side of the field and hit his head, it's all that dumb shit. You know what I mean? And T.O., like, he did it, but he was a drama queen for his team, for, the people that he cared about. He cared about his quarterback. You know what I mean? He did the whole, the guy played on a broken leg in the playoffs and went to a Super Bowl with Philadelphia. So I really can't, I can't do that to the guy. So I'm gonna cut T.O. AB, start, OBJ, bench, T.O., cut, boom.
All right. I kind of like it.
Oh God, don't start this.
He's really muted. He's like,
he really is muted.
what the hell?
Why do you guys keep muting me?
No, I unmuted you, but maybe it was simultaneous to you unmuting you. And
I never muted myself.
Something's happening. It's that damn.
Oh, God, this is great.
Now talk to Jared.
Anyways, all right, so let's start over. Yeah, all right, so I'm going to cut AB because, like I said, well, he was a cancer. I mean, all three of them were cancers in their own way. His really didn't start more towards the tail end of his career. Even when he was in Pittsburgh, a lot of the stuff, tail end of his career, it was when his career really started to end. I'm going to bench OBJ because his stuff, to me, like Brett was going off about, kicking the net on the sideline and then proposing to it later, which was, that was very nice of him to do. Like, what way to show your remorse than to propose, No, but you look, the fact that OBJ, he had just signed that big contract, and then he gets traded shortly after to Cleveland, and he was there, brought it to be the number one there as well, and we never really saw it much of it, except for the first year. We thought him and Jarvis Landry was going to be a big thing. It wasn't. But his stuff off the field wasn't much. It was just more of a just pay me. For, I guess that reason I should probably cut him, but I'm still going to stick with this because he still had his moments. I'm starting T.O. because when I think of T.O.'s career, yeah, a lot of it was his love for the game. I mean, the same could be said about OBJ and AB. When OBJ went on the sideline, it was because of his love of the game, why he kicked the net. And the funny one was proposing to it. That was in love with the game. That was just being a character. But T.O., he was always in the media more than anyone I know, or at least can remember, probably going back to Michael Irvin, which he was right around that same time, just was getting started while Irvin was finishing. T.O., from the moment of pouring popcorn in his face, running down to the 50-yard line at Texas Stadium, and on the second time around, getting nailed by George Teague. I hated that guy. I absolutely hated that guy in that moment, but I loved him the second we signed him. Let me say that. But then we continue to see his moments where that's my quarterback, and then he play. I mean, then you see him go to so many different teams because teams just cannot stand him as much. If you look at the amount of teams between the three of these guys, he's got the biggest resume of teams, starting with the Niners, then the Eagles, then the Cowboys, going to the Bengals, the Bills, and then going on and playing for Saskatchewan or whatever other teams he's played for in the other football leagues. That's mine. Starting T.O., benching OBJ, cutting AB. And like for AB, big issue was CTE.
I really like the way that you broke this down, both of you, for that matter. I'm confident with giving you a tie for now on this round for the simple fact that I have some ideas for the remainder of the show that are going to be quite entertaining. I think we're going to make a nice conversation about a lot of start, bench, cut situations. And on a previous show that Brett and I did, we spoke about the greatest NBA duos of all time. And I was thinking that a nice pickup from that would be talking about the best number 3 guys on NBA dynasties and kind of, whirl this into some debate topics. So we're going to start here, guys. And this is indeed going to be start, bench, cut as well. I do want to chime in on the AB situation for a moment with the other two before we go to this. AB for me is the biggest head case because the CTE / other things. I do think that Vontaze Burfict hit really, really messed that guy up. And it really was. My number 2 would be OBJ as my bench because of the fact that I feel that his immaturity was flat out cancerous at times. And not because he rubbed his teammates the wrong way, because he played very hard. I think it was more of a fact that he was just an unnecessary distraction at unnecessary times. While Terrell Owens gained a very real title as a mercenary, although he did start with Jerry Rice, in San Francisco, I think where T.O. really put a bad taste in a lot of people's mouths was when he moved on from Philadelphia in the manner that he did. I think by the time he played for the Dallas Cowboys, he was incredibly tight with Tony Romo. I don't think that was no BS, as well as Jason Witten for that matter. And when the Dallas Cowboys lost that heartbreaker to the Giants in 2007, I think T.O. showed a lot of leadership. I don't think that was for the cameras. I think that was quite real. And, when I revisit looking at T.O., the reason why I put him into this and the reason why he will not make it as a head case here is because if I was going to switch out T.O. for somebody, it would actually be Randy Moss. I purposely put T.O. here to shine the light on a positive way with T.O. I think it's important that football fans remember that Terrell Owens never took a play off. Terrell Owens always played hard, and it took a lot of courage to play on one leg against the greatest dynasty that was still in the process of becoming a dynasty. That was the first half of the Patriot dynasty, which culminated towards the end of that 20-year reign with Brady and Belichick that ended up getting 3 more. That was the third. His disdain for Donovan McNabb was well documented. I think he had a legitimate love for Tony Romo and a legitimate sadness because I think T.O. at his core knows how good that 2007 Cowboy team was. And I think a part of T.O. really wanted another crack at Tom Brady and Belichick. And that would have possibly been what would have happened. No offense.
So just for disclaimer, Brett, you're definitely the winner. My actual picks is what you guys said. Just a little side note, or the one you just gave, Richie, with OBJ. I would be cutting TO as well, and then I would have started AB. But because Brett had already started AB, I had to go quick and not give the
Yeah,
same answer.
and that truthfully is the style of start bench cut that makes it interesting because sometimes you gotta like the idea of start bench cut is to get the attention of the person who's grading it because nobody said that I'm right, but the way it's laced is to pick a winner out of YouTube. But it's not really about who wins and loses tonight. It's about being able to make great points and keep the conversation flowing, and that's what I like about start bench cut.
This is Brett's opportunity to gloat. Let him have this moment.
Go ahead, Brett.
Zappy. No, I stuck with the same picks for a reason. I've never had a problem with To. He played hard. Like I said, he was if anything, he's a top 3 receiver of all time. The numbers are there. And like I said, we all talked about it. The guy played on one leg in the NFC Championship game. You know what I mean? And going to the Super Bowl. You know what I mean? So it's like you can't knock the guy for that.
No, and like I said, my biggest hate for the guy was watching him go to the star. But again, not something that is going to be frowned upon. It's just something that brings more excitement to the game itself.
Right.
Everything what To was about the game.
Right.
So
I'm glad we brought To in the conversation, but I would have put Chad Ochocinco in that mix. You know what I mean? But still, I'm glad we're talking about To. You know what I mean? Like it's just at the end of the day.
Hey, a good one actually. A good one would be To, Ochocinco, and someone along the same lines of that, because Chad, well, I consider him a lot like To, where he was a lot on the field. He was just, this is a guy that went 100 miles an hour trying to knock out Ray Lewis, and Ray Lewis trucks him on the field. And then Chad,
I saw
Chad
that clip.
Is like,
I saw that clip. Damn, Ray.
So that, I look at To and Chad, and I think of a lot of the same similarities as far as, they were considered cancer, but in their own right way because of their love of the game itself.
Yeah. They weren't really a cancer to the game.
No.
You know what I mean? They weren't a cancer off the field as much as some of these guys that, get into, trouble with the law, or, you know what I mean? Trouble, you know what I mean? Like that's a whole nother ballgame.
Yeah. My thing that I like about To, especially as I get older and I look back at how he was versus some of these guys nowadays. Yeah, he was a mercenary. I get that part. It's hard to shake that when you played for so many teams and when you directly, expedited your exit from at least 3 of those teams. But my thing with To is like his work ethic was second to none, and he did very much so get some of that from Jerry Rice, because Jerry Rice was his first role model, so to speak, in the NFL. To was never ever in question as the second best receiver on his team after his run in San Francisco. He had a very good career, good enough to be a first ballot Hall of Famer. I think shitbags, I said it, shitbags, like Skip Bayless, guys like that, tried to tarnish his accomplishments on the field. And I think it's a joke that he had to wait for the third chance at getting inducted into the Pro Football Hall of Fame. I think it's a bunch of BS. As that goes, I appreciated To that he stood up for himself and really called out Skip Bayless for calling him team obliterator. And
he stood up for his teammates too, not just himself.
No, I hear you on that. And like I said, Randy Moss, in my opinion, might be the total package in terms of the most talented receiver. You could also take a name like a Calvin Johnson. Jerry is the most accomplished and the king. But the point is, as a Patriot fan, I'm sure you agree with this to a level, that Moss did indeed take plays off, as great as he was. whereas a guy like T.O. didn't. And I think that's why I made mention of T.O., because I wanted him to be remembered not so much as a head case. I wanted it to be remembered as a lot of people put that on him through the media, where in reality, if you're one of his teammates, you appreciate a guy like that, because that's the kind of guy that's running through walls. He never had to prove nothing more to me after what he did in that Super Bowl. And, you got one guy throwing up and you got the other guy limping. And the guy limping is the MVP of the game if they win. And the guy throwing up, not for nothing, you really let your team down in a massive way. Get an IV, figure it out, take a shit.
Yeah, too much chunky Campbell soup.
But yeah, I know Zappy just hit me on a outside chat that he has a topic, and I like the idea. We're gonna hit on this next one first, and then we're gonna jump into Zappy's idea, because it's basically open convo tonight. So to elaborate on a little bit of what Brett and I did recently, our series of the best number 3 options of NBA dynasties, I've got Dennis Rodman of the second three-peat of the Chicago Bulls, 96, 97, 98. Draymond Green standing as the number 3 to the Splash Brothers, Clay and Steph. And I've got Horace Grant from the first Chicago three-peat of 91, 92, and 93. I'm going to do something a little different. Zappy, how you feel about being a judge for this one?
Oh, that's funny you say that. I was actually I'm sending you a message right now for the Sarp Edge cut. I'm going to judge for the 2 of you guys.
Awesome.
So I'll judge. One of them this one is going to be a football related one, almost similar. But yeah, I will happily judge this one. So we have Dennis Rodman. All right, let me analyze it real quick so I can come up with my decision first.
Yeah, for sure.
All right, so we have Dennis Rodman, Draymond, and Horace Grant. Okay, I am with my answers. I am ready. Best number 3, and because Richie is the host of the show, and because Richie always gets to have the final say, we are going to let Richie go first in this one.
All right, let's get it. I myself am going to say I find it very difficult to cut any of these 3. And I'm going to do something that might be deemed as a little unpopular, but I'm actually going to move on from Draymond Green, and I'll tell you why. While I believe that on so many metrics, he is the heart and soul and the guy that just gets dirty for those Golden State teams that won so many championships, and he's still playing, he is my cut. Horace Grant is my bench, and the reason he is my bench is because I feel that Dennis Rodman was so eccentric, and he was at the height of his rebounding and his defensive, and also at the height of his crazy during that last leg, the second three-peat. Whereas I think Horace was the opposite of that. I think he was the guy that didn't speak much, but the guy that made so many altering plays during that three-peat that could have changed history. I'm going to give you 2 plays in particular that stand out. Ripping Charles Smith multiple times underneath the backboard in a very important Game 5 at MSG, where if the Knicks win that game, they may very well be your Eastern Conference champions, putting an end to the Bulls' first three-peat bid. Fast forward that to the next series. Chicago down late. Jordan, 2 Paxson, 3-pointer. Kevin Johnson had a very good look at that basket, and Horace Grant said, no, sir, not now. Horace Grant gets a massive block, wins that game. I also want to mention that when Horace Grant left on that little in-betweener, before they acquired Dennis Rodman, his value was on full display when he wasn't wearing a Chicago uniform. Dennis Rodman, to me, though, is such an X factor because if you revisit The Last Dance, that in-betweener where Orlando kicked the crap out of Chicago and Michael Jordan looked out of shape to a level, and Shaquille O'Neal and Penny Hardaway were like, oh my God, these guys are the next big thing. Michael really had to dig deep. and to kind of like redefine his career, because he wasn't the guy that could take it above the rim anymore. But he needed help because it wasn't just Mike. The Bulls were getting killed on the glass. They were getting killed down low. They didn't have that tough identity that a guy like a Horace Grant brought. Bring in Dennis Rodman, coming off a very rough go in San Antonio, and a lot of concerns for his mental and emotional well-being. He comes in and literally gives the Bulls exactly what they needed. A guy that can take over underneath and a guy that can intimidate other teams' best post players to a point where it allowed Mike to play better help defense. It allowed Scotty to play better help defense. And honestly, I don't think the Chicago Bulls necessarily get it done if they didn't acquire that particular player. I think all three of these guys have a very powerful impact on the teams that they won championships with. But Dennis Rodman is my guy. And the reason I give Horace the slight edge over Draymond is because, yes, Draymond has one more ring, but Horace was an integral part in when Jordan was first winning in the very beginning. And I guess you could say the same for Steph with Draymond. So, however you grade this, it's all good, but that is how I see it.
All right. Brett, what you got, buddy?
Oh, this is a tough one. I kind of agree with Rich. Like, I wouldn't want to cut any of these guys. Breaks my heart to do it. I'm actually going to cut Horace Grant. That first three-peat, it was fun to watch. I mean, they had other weapons. They had, John Paxson, Bill Cartwright was a part of that underneath game that they had. You know what I mean? So it's, I mean, the rebounding was there, the defense was there, but he wasn't the main part of that defense. Jordan played a big part in that factor, but I think the big guy down low was Bill Cartwright, the old man. Horace Grant was just a much younger, smaller version of him. I'm gonna bench Dennis. He brought that intimidation factor to the second dynasty of the Bulls. But he also won with the bad boys. He was he was a scorer when he was with the bad boys. He definitely was the down low force of the second Bulls dynasty. He was a guy to get down and dirty, die for balls, going out of bounds. He was that guy. The rebounds were still there. Yeah, he's the rebound king. Draymond, I'm actually going to start. Richie, you hit on that. He is the heart and soul of that Golden State team, and he still is to this day. And this was before KD even came into the mix.
Correct.
You know what I mean? So he is that guy. He's he's like the Charles Oakley of the back in the day. Getting his team riled up, and he doesn't care if he gets kicked out of that game. He wants that team to get riled up. He wants to see get the crowd going. The passion that he has. He's the one. He is the spark plug to that Golden State Warriors team, and he has been his entire career, and he still is. So I'm sticking with Draymond, starting Draymond, benching Dennis, cutting Horace.
Oh man,
yeah, I had to flip the script on that one. I took a lot of thought to that one, but yeah, Richie hit in a lot of points.
Wow. You both hit a lot of great points on this one. If I would have been involved in this exact same one, my order would have been, when we're talking about Draymond, Horace Grant, and Dennis Rodman. Two of the guys won 4 NBA titles. One of them won 5 NBA titles. You know, we saw Horace do it with the Bulls 3 times. We saw him do it with the Lakers later in his career. We saw Rodman do it twice with the Pistons. We saw him do it 3 times with the Bulls. And then we saw Draymond do it 4 times. Richie, I love what you said about everything. You know, I think back to that season where Rodman was unexpectedly the X factor. This is the guy that disappeared, was in Vegas, all that. And Brett, I mean, bringing up Draymond and talking about, you know, him being the heartbeat and stuff. But gentlemen, I have one question for you. And then I'm going to give my answer. And I think you'll know based off my question. Every time we talk about the 2016 NBA Finals, we always say if this person was there, they would have won that title. That's the Golden State Warriors.
Yeah.
For that reason right there, Draymond, I'm starting. His importance to that team has been on full display. When he's not in the lineup, they don't gel well.
Yeah, that's valid.
He punched Jordan Poole, and who's no longer there?
Yeah,
you know, this guy.
I'm actually gonna. Yeah.
So for that reason, I'm starting him. I'm going to cut Horace Grant as well. Yeah, he was there for the Bulls 3-peat, but I agree. I think Bill Cartwright was very important during that 3-peat. And then we saw the importance of Luke Longley in the second 3-peat, as well as Dennis Rodman. But then we saw Horace go to Orlando, had the opportunity to get it again. I mean, he was with Penny, with Shaq, Nick Anderson, Dennis Scott. These guys could have done it, but they couldn't beat Houston. And then Rodman, we know what he was with the Spurs. We know what he was with the Bulls. We know what he was with the Pistons. I mean, here's the guy that was on camera challenging Draymond because, quite frankly, those two might be the greatest NBA defenders of all time.
It's a valid point.
So, yeah, it's hard to those two. But, yeah, like I said, Brett, in my opinion, wins this one for that reason. And then Richie, great points. But the biggest X factor was when we say Draymond 2016 Golden State Warriors up 3-1, pivotal game 5, that changed the whole outcome of the entire series.
I'm good with that because truthfully, you can't really say that it would have happened if Rodman got kicked out for an extended period of time, or Grant for that matter, because it didn't happen. We know what happened when Draymond had that issue. So, yeah, I take the defeat because I think that you made a great point, Zappy, as a judge. I really do. Good job, Brett. That was a good one.
Yeah, that was a tough one.
That was a good one, Brett. I enjoyed that one.
Rich, I texted you my topic.
Yes, I got it. I actually typed it out for you.
Oh, okay, cool. All right. Bretsky and Richie, you can go ahead and pop it up. So we were talking about the biggest head cases in the NFL, talking about T.O., AB, and OBJ. Ooh. And the reason why I say Chase Jefferson Lamb, well, we know right now that Justin Jefferson and CeeDee Lamb are up for contracts right now. And obviously, these two are not going to sign until the other one signs.
Right.
They are about to reset the market.
Right.
Jamar Chase gets to sit back for one more year. But between the three, taking all things into consideration, JJ, he exploded onto the league. So did Jamar Chase. JJ was more consistent than Jamar Chase, and JJ suffered an injury. CeeDee, he came on. He had to deal with the fact that he was there with Amari Cooper and Michael Gallup. Cooper was the number one. Dallas lets Amari go. CeeDee finally became that, and then he blows up this last year. Who, in y'all's opinion, deserves to be that wide receiver that all three of these are going to get 30 plus? Let's just get that out of the way.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Who's going to be the one that resets the market? And who's going to be the one that tops it? And then who's going to be the one with the bigger contract? And remember, Jamar Chase gets another year to prove himself. So you have to think about that as well. Start, bench, cut. Richie went first last time. You are up. So like I said, Jamar Chase, Justin Jefferson, and CeeDee Lamb are all up for deals within the next year. Jamar gets one more year, but he could easily sign after this year because in the NFL, you'll have to play 3 years and then you're up for a contract.
That's correct.
Yeah.
Brett's
Wow.
on going first.
Yeah, you said reset the market, highest contract, and what else?
I only put it that way too, so you could consider that. No matter what, start, bench, cut. Which one are you going to give the highest contract to? Benching second, cutting third.
I'm giving it to Jefferson. I'm giving it to Jefferson, hands down. He's been the more consistent receiver on a more effective offense. You know what I mean? Like Lamb has had Dak. He had Kirk Cousins. Jamar has had a chemistry with Burrow going back to college. So you know what I mean? Like I'm giving Jefferson this one hands down. Number one.
So you're starting Jefferson?
I'm starting Jefferson.
Okay.
I'm benching Lamb. Just like you said, he blew up this year. He didn't struggle. The first year in the league, he had more talent on the offense. So the ball wasn't looked more his way. You know what I mean? But Jamar Chase, it sucks. I gotta cut one of them. I don't want to. I'm gonna cut Jace just because he got hurt. Burrow got hurt, and it's unfortunate. You know what I mean? But that's my order. I'm gonna go Jefferson, Lamb, Chase.
All right.
Richie, give it to me.
All right. A good point was made that Chase has an extra year to prove himself. So I'm going to say that he will get ultimately $1 more than Lamb, maybe. Just going to say it like that. But that doesn't mean that I think he deserves the best contract. I'm cutting Jamar Chase for a couple of reasons. Number one is that I think this particular year, and even going back to last year, he showed an unhealthy selfishness that has actually turned off his teammate, T. Higgins, in a very negative way, who actually might even be better than him. I don't think it's like that golden relationship that Chase and Burrow share anymore these days like they do back to LSU. I think it's more about they play on the same team now. Justin Jefferson's ascension was pretty remarkable, but I am going to bench him, and I'll explain why. I like the fact that CeeDee Lamb has less miles than these other two fellas. And the other part of it is that I feel that CeeDee Lamb overcame more than these other two fellas. He wasn't buried on the depth chart. I wouldn't say buried, but he wasn't behind on a depth chart. I feel that in CeeDee's case, he had to gradually get it the hard way. And whether it's fair or not, when you put on that Dallas Cowboy uniform and you got that star on your helmet, you are under a motherfucking microscope, similar to the microscope you will be under if you play for a team like the Los Angeles Lakers or play like a team like the New York Yankees. I think CD has been through the ringer in terms of the temperature of the expectations and just how big of a following that organization has. And I also like CeeDee's work ethic. CeeDee will reset it. Chase will jump him. But if it's my money and it's my team, I'm paying CeeDee before these other two. CeeDee for the start, Jefferson for the bench, Chase for the cut. But Chase, in the end, will get more because he has that extra time to reset it, so to speak. The other guy will reset it; he'll jump him up. But yeah, Lamb, Jefferson, Chase in that order.
So, all right. So, both of you guys, again, good points. Man, actually, this one is a hard one to judge. Because while I agree with both of you about Jamar Chase, there's still that thing lingering in the back of my head that I still say keep T. Higgins, trade Jamar Chase.
Yes.
And I just, and I don't necessarily know, and we're talking about the Bengals this year that may not have Joe Mixon or T. Higgins or Tyler Boyd. And then this is going to, in my opinion, expose why. But You guys both went the same route, cutting Chase. So I cannot fault either of you for that. I am going to agree and give the victory this time. I'm going to give it to Richie. The main reason why for me is Justin Jefferson he blew up on the scene from day one. We saw his career constantly getting better, and then all of a sudden we have to see what's going to happen next. He doesn't have Kirk Cousins next year. We don't know who his quarterback's going to be next year. And you don't place your receiver on the trade block. CeeDee Lamb, the dude has every year gotten better. Starting off his rookie year, catch for 996 yards. He just missed 1,000. Second year, over 1,000. Last year, over 1,200. This year, over 1,700. Second in the league in receiving, first in the league in catches, second in the league in receiving yards and touchdowns, right behind Tyreek Hill, I believe.
Yeah.
So for those reasons, and CeeDee Lamb having more weapons around him allows him to be a bigger star, therefore demand more money. CeeDee Lamb gets the biggest contract. He's not going to reset it. I think Justin Jefferson resets it. I think CeeDee Lamb tops it, and then Jamar breaks it down the road.
Fair.
You guys had a good point. Just because if JJ didn't get hurt this year, then in my opinion, he would be resetting the market and probably be paid too much where Lamb wouldn't be able to touch it. But because he got hurt, that hurts him.
You know what sucks is it's almost like JJ is getting punished because he doesn't have a quarterback now.
He's not getting punished for that. I
You know what I
don't think
mean?
he's getting punished for that. Because even then last year, and this is why I made the argument that I think Jordan Addison is a better receiver than Justin Jefferson. Last year, when Kirk Cousins was out, Jordan Addison blew up, and he
blew up.
He had multiple guys throwing him the ball that they went out and traded for Josh Dobbs, and he still did great. And if that's going to be the argument for Justin Jefferson, then the argument should be, well, if you're that good of a receiver, you're going to make any quarterback that good.
Well, that's actually the reason I chose Lamb, predicated off that conversation that Zappy, because this is the thing, right?
That's a big one.
Show, Brett, I don't know if you saw it yet. Zappy and Idris were kind of formed a team on me, and it was interesting. I'm like, wait a minute, what's going on here? And
not intentional.
No, not intentional. They were both on Jordan Addison. And when they looked and brought up the Justin Jefferson thing, like he just said now, I looked at both of them like they were out of their minds. But then after taking a step back and kind of reviewing the Vikings season that was, where you had the Kirk Cousins injury, and then you had Dobbs in there, and then you had Nick Mullins, and then you had the Jefferson injury, I do believe to a level that Lamb in that regard, and you can even make a point for Chase in that regard too, might both have a leg up on Jefferson in terms of adapting to a different quarterback, because while the Bengals did miss the playoffs, rather, it took Chase a little time in his own right. But Jake Browning, I think if the injury to Burrow would have happened a couple of weeks earlier, the Bengals might have been able to recover in time to make those playoffs. But hindsight's always 20/20, and this was a good start bench cut because truthfully, it could have won either way. It really could.
It really can.
Yeah, Addison helped me a lot through our our Cheddar League last year. He got me some points last year.
You were sitting next to me in the hotel picking the teams, and I wanted him, and you got to him one pick before me, and I had to settle for this kid from the Chargers that had a very disappointing year one. So you did good in that regard, and were it not for Dom, I really believe that you and I would have been in the finals this year, but it is what it is.
Mm-hmm.
Good job.
Right.
Good job.
So we have 1-1 here. Change the topic. I'm gonna think of one last start bench cut for the end of the show for you two.
Okay, cool.
It's gonna be the tiebreaker. I think it's gonna be perfect. I love it.
I actually have one for Richie.
Ooh, strictly you, Richie.
Go ahead.
Yeah. All right. Give me start, bench, cut. Your favorite Limp Bizkit song. All right. I have Faith, Nookie, or Rearranged. Start, bench, cut.
Rearranged for the dub, Nookie for the cut, and Faith is my middle as the bench.
Wow.
Yeah,
Wow.
I have
I'm
to.
shocked.
I agree 100%, dude. That that wasn't even his song. That's
Yeah.
George Michael.
Yeah, exactly. I'm shocked right now. Like, yeah.
No,
Like,
Rearrange was a great song.
It's a great song.
Similar to how Puff Daddy exploited the art of making the remix and taking a lot of samples. Faith is an awesome song, but it's not his.
It's not his. I know.
Exactly.
He made it great. He made it a song that a lot of people had never heard before.
Yeah. Good for you, buddy. Good for you. I'm impressed. I'm impressed.
That's the answer. That's the exact answer.
You shocked the shit out of me, but I'm impressed.
Even like with Puff Daddy, just making like an analogy here real quick. Like if you listen to Ready to Die, Biggie's first album, Big Papa, awesome beat. Awesome beat.
Yeah, that goes back to the 70s.
The Isley Brothers, dude.
Yeah. Yeah. Or I'll Be Missing You by Puff Daddy is not his. It's
Sting. We already know where we're going with this.
Yeah.
But no, yeah, good question. I like that one.
Shocked though. You surprised me. That was a good one. Surprised me.
That was good.
That was a really good one. And I had already conceded victory in that moment. I was like, yeah, Richie got it right.
That was good. That was good.
All right. Oh man, I think I've almost got it. I think I almost have it. It's all right. So I'm gonna give you guys an idea. It's movie related. Your topic will be movie related. Okay.
Nice.
Oh, hit me with this.
So, and it will be sports. I'm not going to give it to you yet. But just to give you guys something to think about over the next 10 minutes.
Cool.
You got me curious, Rock.
Zappy, I did want to possibly bring this up to your attention, but we don't necessarily have to divulge on it all the way. Just a suggestion. My AL West predictions, we could always elaborate on this in a future show. I've got the Texas Rangers winning 101 games and sneaking the division by 1 game. I got the Houston Astros also winning 100. But
I'll be back in one moment, boys. Just give me one moment.
You know, if you turned off your camera and just walked away, we would have never known. The Seattle Mariners are at 93 and 69. I got them good enough for a wild card. Los Angeles Angels are just not a good baseball team. 74-88. The Oakland Athletics are going to be flirting with the Colorado Rockies for worst overall record. Off air, you suggested a worry of yours, being a Rangers fan, is that these Houston Astros pose a threat to be a wild card and take it all the way, similar to what you boys did last year. And while I do take into consideration that's a very real possibility, I like the Rangers for the division for now. And if we learned anything going back to last year, is that these two teams are very, very evenly matched. So I would not be the least bit surprised if they went the distance in a series should they cross paths again. But I got the defending world champions at 101 and 61, which in my opinion will be an AL second best record to only the Baltimore Orioles.
Man, this is a tough one because, you know, Texas, the one big difference between the Rangers and the Yankees is the fact that from top to bottom, the Rangers have incredible hitting.
For sure.
I mean,
you don't have any easy outs in that lineup.
No, you don't. And I'm actually happy we did this now than in a few days once the official 40-man rosters are released. But I'm excited what the Rangers have this year, because I look at guys like an Evan Carter, who was brought in late in the season and had himself a phenomenal playoff run as well as a World Series
guy this year.
And then there's Wyatt Langford, who I know is going to be kept on the roster, and every Rangers fan is screaming, "You better keep Wyatt Langford."
Wyatt, you have no other choice but to be a winner,
right? And well, in the spring, this guy is leading the majors in RBIs. He has 5. I think he had another one today. I have to verify, but 5 home runs right now, and this kid is unbelievable. The Rangers, to me, the only worry I worry about is the fact that we don't have the pitching's good. We're going into the season with our starting rotation being Eovaldi, John Gray, Dane Dunning, Andrew Heaney, and who was the other one? Crawford, I think it was. Bradford, Cody Bradford. And so it's a good lineup, but what the Rangers have on their side, as opposed to the Astros or the Mariners or anything else, is come the All-Star break, they get healthier when they get Jacob deGrom, Max Scherzer, and Tyler Mahle. Yeah. While the Yankees have that, like, oh shit, now, because you don't have anything coming later. Like I said, yeah, Garrett Cole should be coming in. Yankees have Carlos Rodon that needs to have that big season for them. The Rangers have proven time and time again that they can average 10 runs a game without problem, because the amount of hitting this team has. And when I look at this, a good problem to have, Wyatt Langford is going to make the team, and he's going to probably be our DH.
He's going to DH and util a little.
Yeah, and well, our utility guys will probably be Ezekiel Duran and man.
I mean, dude, there was a couple times last year you guys put up 20+ runs.
Yeah, well, we led the majors in the most double-digit runs. The Rangers are in a good position.
Insane.
They're gonna score a lot of runs.
And they got enough pitching to sustain while 2 future Hall of Famers heal up, and then you figure out what the role is. I think Scherzer, it goes without saying, back end of your rotation. But the DeGrom one is the one that intrigues me, because we flirted on this show with the idea many times that maybe DeGrom needs to be an 8th inning guy, like a bridge to the closer, or the closer himself, similar to what John Smoltz did in his Atlanta run. Because you think about how awesome DeGrom was with the Mets, and unfortunately always seemed to get hurt. But God, he was so good when he pitched. And this is the guy doing it 5-6 innings. You just can't hit this guy. You can barely score on this guy. Can you imagine how difficult it is when you for only 3 outs a game? How ridiculously difficult it's going to be to, once he gets comfortable, to not come out of that role. And mind you, this is just a suggestion. Nobody said that me and Zappy's idea had to be honored, but it's a damn good one if they go that route.
Well, the problem was with DeGrom with the Mets, he never had any run support. The guy was pitching eight shutout innings and still losing.
Yeah, when you see his ERA and some of those years where he had a losing record, it's egregious.
It's crazy.
It really is. It really is.
All the offense now.
Crazy, dude.
It's an exciting, but no, as far as this division goes, man, Oakland, look, they are one of those teams. They're going to have 100 losses. This team doesn't have much right now. Even when I look at the prospects they have, I'm not impressed with anything they have to offer at all. They're moving to Las Vegas. Great. The Angels, look, you have Mike Trout yet again. I love the fact that he is committed to this team and willing to stay with this team. But this is one guy I would love to see this franchise do him right and send him to a contender, because quite frankly, he's got an argument to be the greatest center fielder. I said argument. Yeah. The guy's been nothing but a talented player, but in a horrible organization. They should have did to him what they did to Ohtani and allowed him to go somewhere else.
I agree.
Seattle is the team that really intrigues me. I love that you gave them 93 wins, because I actually think that the AL West this year is going to be the division that produces the most wins.
I'm smelling a comeback for the I'm smelling a comeback
here.
for the Dodgers. And I think Julio is going to be a top 5 fantasy player this year.
You said the AL West is going to provide more wins? Is that what I heard you say?
Correct, because I think the Rangers are going to top 100. I think the Astros will be right there at 100, right under 99, and I think Houston's going to be a few games over 90 games. And when I look at the AL East, I have Baltimore winning over 100 games, but I don't have anyone else being close to that. I think the Rays are going to take a step back. This Garrett Cole news for the Yankees hurts them.
It kills us because I thought the Yankees could maybe top out at like 94, 95 wins, assuming Cole has another 16 to 20 win season. But now with this dude not being back until possibly the heat of the summer, it doesn't bode well. The Yankees are going to have to figure out if they're going to be buyers at the deadline. And a lot of that's going to be predicated off of the kind of years that Rodon and Cortez and Schmidt and Stroman have. They're going to step up.
What about the NL? What about the NL West? I mean, how many wins do you think that division is going to put up?
Well, we did that. We did that a while back, but I got the Dodgers at 107 wins. I think it was 107, being the best in baseball.
So Richie has the Dodgers winning the most games in baseball. I have the Orioles winning the most games in baseball this year. And as far as divisions goes, he's got the O. We both have the O's. We both have the Twins, I believe. We both have the Rangers. We both have the Braves. The NL West, I believe we disagreed on.
Well, I picked the Dodgers to win the division, but per usual.
I'm sorry, it's the Central.
I picked the Cubs in the Central.
Okay, so we have the same view in the Central, and then we both have the same view in the West.
Wild cards are going to be a little murky in the American League, but when you consider how good this division is, I believe this division is sending 3 teams. Now, correct me if I'm wrong. Baseball sends 6 or 7?
7.
Okay, so 3 more spots. Whoever wins the Central, I think the Central is a 2-dog race between the Cleveland Guardians and the Minnesota Twins, assuming that Shane Bieber comes back to Cy Young form. And if the Indians could score a little bit more on offense, you got Jose Ramirez and you got a bunch of guys, the words of Lou Brown, we might have a few all-stars here. But no, I don't see it that way. The Chicago White Sox are a train wreck. The Kansas City Royals are friggin' horrible too. So yeah, I don't see anybody in the Central offering much resistance in either Central. This is a year that people might expect the St. Louis Cardinals to make a comeback, but I don't know. I still don't like that roster that much. Pittsburgh Pirates are kind of pretending still. They're better, but they're not good enough. And my Yankees, I'm worried about them. And the Toronto Blue Jays, I'm going to say this. And I said this last year. This year, I'm going to back it up twice, kind of like you with the Commanders, waiting for them to do what you think they're supposed to do. If the Blue Jays get off to like 60 games out of the gates and not looking up to par, Don Mattingly is going to be the new manager because he's already sitting right next to the guy he's going to replace. And if Don Mattingly gets the gig, Don Mattingly is going to do some phenomenal things there. I really am happy that organization is valuing him. And even though I hate the Astros, I'm happy that they're valuing Reggie Jackson because I'm going to keep it real. The Yankees did not do right by Reggie Jackson.
Yeah. Hey, but you know what? Still Mr. October.
Yes, he is.
For the foreseeable future, because there's a guy named Corey Seager that might have something to say about it in a few years.
Yeah, he's been flirting with some of those metrics that Reggie did at a peak level. Because nobody's going to sit here and tell you that Reggie Jackson is the greatest Yankee of all time. But when it comes to postseason performers, not just in the Yankees, in terms of baseball history, Reggie Jackson is just one of those dudes that you're like, holy shit, this guy was something.
So was Jeter.
Yeah, definitely Jeter. But Reggie won, 5 World Series?
Yeah, with different organizations.
Different organizations.
But he was undeniably the X factor with the Yanks. While Thurman, it's still a slap in the face to baseball purists that Thurman is not in the Hall. I think it's a joke. Death should not allow you disqualification from the Hall of Fame. I said this on a previous Instagram thing that we did. Thurman belongs in the Hall. He was the
Mhm.
heart and soul, but make no mistake, Mr. October was that guy.
Well,
He was like the first $1 million man, so to speak, in baseball that really put asses in seats.
All
Post
right.
the golden era of DiMaggio, Mantle, yada yada.
Tiebreaker time. We have 5 minutes left, so this is a perfect amount of time. I will
there
go
it is.
fast. Gentlemen, I texted you the list, Richie. So, anyways, the topic is for this one, for the tiebreaker, is going to be best movie. I don't want to say lines, but best movie speeches. I told you movie. It's going to be
yeah.
football. So the 3 movies I have are Friday Night Lights, Any Given Sunday, and Remember the Titans. Friday Night Lights, we know the speech that was given, that it was almost like perfection. What is perfection? Your perfection, a team coming together. Friday Night Lights, I'm sorry, Any Given Sunday, inches. The inches. And Remember the Titans, not another yard. Richie, Brett went first last time. Which one is the best? Star bench cut. You have a minute and a half.
Wow. I gotta go with inches as my start because it just made you just like put yourself in the place of one of his players, and you're just like, oh man, I want to play for him. I want to. I just want to get the job done. So yeah, inches is my start. Remember the Titans is another excellent one. Oh boy, that's got to be my bench. That's got to be my bench. And perfection is my cut. But while I think that you can easily make the most logical argument for any direction, nothing touches inches for me in terms of the quality of that speech and just how fired up it makes you when you watch it. And I'll take it a step further. In the history of cinema, switching into the movie realm of sport, there is only one other speech that does it for me on a grander level than that one. And it's when Rocky Balboa addresses his son in front of Adrian's. That's the only one. Good friggin' one. And whether I win or lose, it's all good. But that's where I.
All right, Brett, give it to me.
I'm actually going to cut Gain Another Yard and Remember the Titans because there's 20 other quotes that you could have chosen from that movie, which I don't understand why you didn't.
There's a reason why.
There was a time where Titans ruled the universe. Let's rule it like Titans. There's so many other lines that you could have gone with that. I'm going to bench Friday Night Lights. I'm going to bench Friday Night Lights. I think Any Given Sunday, absolutely, I'm going to start. That was a whole 5.5 minute monologue, not only about the game, but about life and how, just that 1 inch will change the game. It'll change your life. And that shit hit hard. That shit hit hard. You saw Willie Beeman's face. You saw LL Cool J's face. Like that shit was deep. Deep, deep, deep as you possibly can go into a human soul with that speech. So that's my pick right there.
All right. For the sheer fact that you told me I had to pick other lines, you lose, Brett.
That's crap. There were so many other lines that you could have chose from that movie, Zappy.
Not another yard. The most important. He's got the Hall of Fame on the line.
All right.
Hall of Fame on the line.
We got 30 seconds left.
All right, so Richie gets the W. I love the Any Given Sunday line, but here's the difference between those two: is Any Given Sunday was a fictional movie, while the other two were true stories.
All right, check this. 15 seconds. I'm not competing. I'm just giving you my quick thought on this. We'll continue.
Oh, I forgot all about that one.
Don't worry about it. I'm starting Megatron because he was the best. I'm cutting Fitz because Fitz, believe it or not, was not the best receiver every year on those Cardinals teams. T.O., Moss, bench, they're damn near even. T.O. worked harder. Moss was more talented. We out. Great show, boys.